What does your past mean to you? Does your past evoke a certain emotion? If it does, what is it? Sadness, anger, regret? Regardless of how it makes you feel, you can't change it now. Whether what you did was right or wrong, you just need to accept it, because the only real step you can take now is to apply your past to your future. There is always a lesson to be learned from your actions. So take what you've learned and apply it going forward, because not listening to your past might just cost you your future. Every single decision you've made in the past has resulted in you living in a situation you're in right now. Of course, there are certain factors you simply cannot control. Certain things are just out of our reach and there's nothing we can do about it. But large majority of the decisions that we make will leave an impact. Obviously, there is no way of knowing that whatever we choose will leave a positive impact on our life going forward. And sometimes we just need to dive into something headfirst, or even after careful consideration and calculation, go into it, and it will still be of absolutely no benefit to us whatsoever. And that's alright, because that's just what happens. Sometimes we have to go into something we know is very bad for us, but we have to go into it anyway, waste time, waste our energy, in a sense, ignore the red flags of the situation, because otherwise we just wouldn't learn. And I'm not saying by any means you should go for every terrible decision you could possibly think of just so you can learn easier. Absolutely not. But sometimes that's what we need. Sometimes we need that one decision that will waste a couple of years of our life for us to realize what we actually want. Unfortunately, there's no easy way to find out these things. It's only ever through the hard way. And obviously, the more you do, the more years you have behind you, the more experiences you can look back on, the more you will know. And chances are, the less mistakes you're going to make, as long as you actually learn from your previous ones. But I really do think that is what it's partly about. It's just experiencing things. Because the more experience, the more you do, the more you will know about yourself. And I think that's very important, because there's no point in just continuing to do the same things over the next God knows how many years when you don't actually enjoy it, because the only thing that's really going to cause is just misery and just overall just negativity, really. So take what you've done in the past and analyze it. And I'm not saying you have to analyze absolutely everything. Your last relationship or situationship, your last job, your last friend, assuming that all those things are in the past and are no longer in your life right now. Have a think about that. Have a think about what was good and what wasn't. If a certain person, exhibited certain behaviors that just didn't sit right with you, or caused you grief or upset you, then do not let the next person do the same thing. Because then what was the point of you going through all that pain and misery the first time around, just to allow yourself to have it happen all over again? Obviously, it's good to understand what your past means to you and what it means for you to go forward with it. However, there's also a big part of past, and that is reflection. Reflecting at how far you've come, or how much things have changed. How much have you changed? What are the differences now? Reflect on what has gone well and what hasn't gone well, because inevitably it's going to be good and the bad in no matter what you do. And as you're progressing through life, that's just how it's going to be with everything. Nothing is ever just going to be good only or bad only. There's always going to be a mix of both. Obviously, in certain situations, in certain things, there's going to be a lot more of one than the other, but the mix will always be there. Maybe you got out of a toxic job or a relationship, and you see things differently, you think about things differently now. You see the things you don't like and you avoid them, and you do your utmost best to make sure that whenever you do accept something in your life, it doesn't exhibit those habits. It doesn't make you feel the way those things made you feel in the past. As time has gone on, you have matured emotionally in a certain way. Maybe you don't get attached as easily. Maybe you show a much deeper love for the things that you actually enjoy doing, and you spend a significant amount more time doing, such as your favorite hobby, hanging out with certain people, going to the gym, reading, whatever it may be. You just show it more love and attention, because you know the more you do, the better it makes you feel. Like we previously mentioned, of just experiencing things and going out and learning about yourself, that kind of comes in hand, because the more you do, the more you'll be able to reflect back on. And the more you've got to reflect back on, the more you've got to learn about yourself. So reflect back. Have you done well? If you have, treat yourself. Reward yourself with something. Do something for you. If you haven't, then ask yourself why. And what can you do going forward to make that change in order to make positive progress. So you can reward yourself. Because if things aren't going well, reward yourself by implementing positive changes. And then once things start working out, they start getting better, things improve, things change, reward yourself. So don't just suppress your past. Don't just try and forget about it. Don't just try and lock it away in some little corner of your mind. Remember it, good and bad. Remember it, learn from it, and understand what it is that you want going forward. Based on everything that you've experienced, what do you want out of life? Once again, it doesn't matter how big or small, significant, insignificant this thing is. What do you want? Some might say a caring partner, a supportive partner that will help them through the tough times, to share good memories with, to have a good time with. Some might say money. Some might say they want financial success. Some people might say they just want to enjoy the things they used to enjoy back in the day. Whatever your motivation is, it doesn't matter, because it's your motivation. And whatever it is that you want only should matter to you. It doesn't matter what other people think. It doesn't matter what other people want. What do you want? So take your past and create a future for yourself based on the things that you've experienced that you enjoyed and didn't. And I know that might sound a little bit easier said than done, but when you really break it down, it is actually relatively simple. But just because something is simple doesn't mean it's easy. Remember all the things that caused you grief, all the things that made you upset, angry, whatever. Remember those things and never forget them, because whenever anything like that occurs again in your life, get rid of it, because that is not going to help you achieve the future that you want. With your new understanding, your new feelings, your new mindset, over the years, months, weeks, whatever, decide how you want to go forward. There's nothing wrong with taking out a little bit of time out of your day to think about what it is that you want going forward based on the things you've experienced beforehand. You have to remember that there isn't a right or wrong answer here either. Obviously, some are going to be more ideal than others. Some might be flat out terrible. But if that is what you decide to do, then do it. Because for all you know, it might seem terrible now, and it'll turn out to be the best thing you've ever decided. Or it will be as terrible as it sounds. You're going to get hurt again. You're going to go through all that grief again. But hopefully, that's going to be the one more time you need to finally learn. And then the next time you go about doing this, you're going to know what not to do, because you're going to remember they've gone through this multiple times now. All your past wins, mistakes, relationships, friendships, decisions, purchases, they all accumulate to your future, because by doing so, you create your own timeline. So choose whatever it is that you want and just go for it. Like we spoke earlier in the video, I will always tell people to go for it, because you might make a small decision and it might cost you 2 or 3 years of your life going forward. That's fine. Sometimes it's what you need. So don't get too hung up on the potential outcome, because sometimes you might be a couple days or a couple weeks into something and you'll just know straight away, this isn't for me. I need to stop, change things about. Sometimes you won't. Sometimes you're going to be blinded by certain things and you're going to go ahead with it and you're going to waste a lot of time. But a lesson is a lesson. So take your past and mold it into your future. Thank you very much for tuning in to this week's video. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something new. And if you disagree with anything that I said today, please leave a comment. I'll be more than happy to have a chat with you. Last week, we spoke about habits and how certain ones can really make or break a person. I do believe that thinking and reflecting back on your past is actually quite a good habit to get into. So maybe you want to learn about more habits and how I overcame certain problems in my life. If that's of any interest to you, I'm going to leave that on the screen right here. And I hope I see you there. Thank you very much for watching. See you next week.